I'm not even inherently against next generation stories. What happens after Happily Ever After is always something I find interesting. At the same time, what even was this movie? The premise is that Belle and Beast united all the Disney properties under one kingdom and became an elected monarch. Oh, meanwhile, they banished all the villains and their minions and tossed them onto an island. Wait, you may ask, what happened to the villains who died in their respective stories? They got resurrected and thrown onto the island. It's something of a novelization, and I hate using supplementary material, but it's not explained in the movie, and ugh. So they lock them on an island with no Wi Fi, no escape, no magic. So Ben, as the only voice of morality for like 5 seconds, decides to bring some integration of the Isle of the Lost and Auradon. Those villain kids that he's bringing into Auradon are Jay, the son of Jafar, Mal, the daughter of Maleficent, Carlos, the son of Cruella De Vil, and Evie, the daughter of the Evil Queen. The kids, meanwhile, are tasked with stealing the fairy godmother's magic wand to break the barrier and free all the villains. But then they embrace her inner goodness and face Maleficent with her shoddy CGI glory. There's a few problems with this movie, and it's not because of the cheap plastic leather costumes. That's bad, but it's ultimately a footnote compared to the other problems. Let's start with the characterization between the children and their parents. You don't get to see much of it at all. Jay is a thief who works for Jafar. Frankly, the idea of Jafar needing to be a fence is stupid. Jafar isn't a thief, he's an evil vizier who uses hypnosis and manipulation to trick people into getting what he wants. He would be a mafia boss extorting people, not a thief, and thus he would teach his son extortion, not just being a thief. You could say it's ironic that Jafar ended up taking on Aladdin's traits, except the irony is wasted because it's not explored at all. Cruella treats Carlos like a servant, which, fair enough, I can see her doing that. Evie and the Evil Queen really don't get much depth beyond snag a nice prince and be a cheater. What's funny is that she has a scene where she is used by some other person in the movie, so it would be a nice time to learn some empathy and that people aren't tools, but that would take time away from the school related antics. And then Christian Chenoweth plays Maleficent and is completely an uninspiring comical villain. Look, I don't have a problem with comical villains. Bill Cipher is an example of a comical villain who is also a complete and utter depraved monster. That's not the case here. None of the villains are portrayed as anything to be afraid of. They're just bumbling Disney Channel parental dolts. Which makes Maleficent's entry as the main villain to be an, oh, we need a villain for a climax that doesn't really merit being a climax at all. Might as well talk about the titular Descendants themselves. I don't buy into the idea that this movie is trying to argue that they're just embracing their inner goodness. They spend the entire plot of the movie trying to get an artifact that would free their parents from the Isle of the Lost. When they don't succeed the first time, they actively partake in activities to be successful the next time, and then some. Whether it's manipulation for popularity, using love potions to seduce Ben in order to get close enough to the wand, and rid themselves of the barrier. Because this is a Disney Channel movie, Mal needs to fall for Ben. It honestly comes off as Mal developing feelings for Ben rather than any reflection on the morality of her actions. It's like she changed sides less because she was realizing that, hey, whatever Maleficent taught me wasn't right, and more like she gets an emotional rush out of Ben, the emotional rush she couldn't get out of her mother. Really, the whole cast comes off like this. They feel like they get more enjoyment being part of a school setting of all things and not with their parents, which could have been explored more, but we didn't explore it at all. Really, the whole cast could have used more focus rather than just school antics and helping the kids belong. Even after finding out that they belong at Auradon, they were still willing to help their parents get off the Isle of the Lost. Now, if you let it cook for like 10 more minutes, maybe, actually do some character stuff and not just random school antics that are just annoying, you could argue that they were doing this out of fear, and this is the route the plot takes. Except you get the conversation with Queen Leah, and then that just becomes a knee jerk reaction that, if anything, this was just an excuse to pull the trigger for the climax. A climax that's not even pulled by the heroes and it's over in like a minute. Oh no, If you think the villain kids are the only ones experiencing characterization problems, the Disney hero kids are just as bad themselves. Might as well start with the Disney heroes first. Those idiots collectively agreed to take their villains, pull them out of the underworld, and then locked them on an island. Oh, they also locked up their families next to them. I can buy King Arthur doing something like this, considering his own legend ends with him fighting tons of wars until he dies in one of them, so him having a hardened heart, that I could see. Snow White, no. Cinderella, meanwhile, would probably be the princess least sympathetic to locking up kids in horrifically abusive situations. I'm willing to bet someone got blinded with shards of glass slippers for merely suggesting this idea to her. Oh wait, that implies that she had to be competently written. Considering she raised this douchebag of a son. Ugh. There's also Ben, who seemingly knew about the plan to steal the wand and didn't just do the simple thing of just using a fake wand at his coronation ceremony. And the fact that he willingly took a love potion and acted like he was still under its effects when they were undone by a dip in a pool. Considering he dumped and humiliated his current girlfriend Audrey and didn't even bother keeping her in the loop, are we sure he's not a villain? At least 2 movies later, he'll get called out for this. I swear, every single character in this movie is a mustache-twirling villain, an idiot, or a douchebag. I honestly want to know who this movie is made for. Lore and world-building lovers are confused because this world makes no sense and it's never explained in any detail at all. How does this place function? How do all of these fairy tale characters function in this place? Well, I don't know. Everyone else in this plot is a jerk, a villain with no teeth, or an underdeveloped character. If you want to see villain kids interacting with the Disney princesses, sorry, that doesn't happen. You can't even do the fan service correctly. If you want musical numbers and choreography that are catchy, some of them are catchy because they are just so bad it's good, and I'll give it that, but clearly they are dubbed over. One of the things that a musical movie should avoid is making them feel like they're dubbed over, and boy do they feel like they're dubbed over. And the action is marred by mediocre to poor CGI, anticlimactic resolutions. I guess this movie can be a guilty pleasure, but that's pretty much it. That's it for this video. Please consider liking, subscribing, tipping the channel on Ko-fi. This is Cyril signing off.